start.
Okay. Oh, it kind of matches. This kind of matches your shirt.
Yeah.
That's a nice shirt.
Thank you.
I thought I wanted to do this. I'll just do it after, maybe after silent meditation. It's this
Yeah.
sad song.
I'll do it after silent meditation. Okay. Let's get going.
Oops. That's not me. Let's start on page 128. Ha'chamamerosh ha'ilano nistalka Bovanet selikrat Shabbat ha'malka Bovanet selikrat Shabbat ha'malka Ha'chamamerosh ha'ilanot nistalka Bovanet selikrat Shabbat ha'malka Bovanet selikrat Shabbat ha'malka Hinehi yoredet hakdosha Hinehi yoredet habrucha Ha'chamamerosh ha'ilanot nistalka Bovanet selikrat Shabbat ha'malka Bovanet selikrat Shabbat ha'malka Hinehi yoredet hakdosha Hinehi yoredet habrucha Ha'chamamerosh ha'ilanot nistalka Bovanet selikrat Shabbat ha'malka Bovanet selikrat Shabbat ha'malka
Shabbat Shalom. Good Shabbos to all of you. This has been a beautiful week in terms of weather here in Napa, but it's been a horrible week in terms of the recent shooting in Texas and between what happened in Buffalo and what happened in Texas this week with these mass shootings and slaughter of innocent people. I am so tired of offering thoughts and prayers, and I know all of you probably are too. So even though my thoughts and prayers are with the families of the victims in Buffalo and in Texas, my real prayer on this Shabbat is that our leaders and our elected officials can figure out how to get this country back on track and how to keep these weapons of mass destruction out of the hands of mentally ill and evil people. It's not a political issue, it's a human issue, and we'll talk about it a little bit later in the service, but I hope and pray we can get our act together as a nation. You know, Judaism advocates that we create a world of justice, of kindness, and of peace, and we certainly have not been successful at doing that in this country. So I don't have a lot more to say. I'll talk a little bit more later, but there's a lot that I'm praying for on this Shabbat. Shabbat is a time to celebrate, even in the face of dark and terrible events, and unfortunately human history is filled with them. So we try to move on. We try to celebrate. And to usher in Shabbat, I would like to invite Donna Mendelson to come up to the bima to light our Shabbat candles. And you can follow along on page 120.
Oh, this way, okay. Since I didn't smoke, I don't.
Yeah.
Would you rather use just regular matches?
We need to get a different system. Let's try. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
You know, there are a range, probably half a dozen different songs that we often insert here and sing on Shabbat. We've been doing Lecha Dodi lately, but again, in light of the peace that I know we all are praying for, let's sing Shalom Aleichem tonight on page 142.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu l'Shalom Malachei HaShalom Malachei Elyon Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seichem l'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
The Chatzi Kaddish is on page 144. Please rise.
Yitkadav, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah, B'alma Divrachi Rute V'yamlich Malchute, B'chayechon U'vyom Echon, U'chayei D'chol Beit Yisrael, Bagala, Bagala, U'vizman Kariv, V'yimeru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah v'Mavarach L'olam u'olmei almaya Yitbarach Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yithaleh v'yithalal Shemei Dekudesha Barichu Le'la min kol birchata v'shirata Tushbichata v'nechemata dam yiram b'yama v'imeru. Amen.
Page 146.
La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamevorach. Baruch Adonai Hamevorach, Hamevorach le'olam va'ed. Hamevorach, Hamevorach le'olam va'ed.
Please join me at the bottom of page 149 in English. This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim. Page 151. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol, all these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works, and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
Please be seated.
V'yahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavacha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivdecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shokbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam la'ot al yadecha v'hayut l'totafot beinenecha uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Page 157. Please join me at the top. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh. Hara uvanecha, okei hayam lifnei Moshe uMiriam, ze'elianu ve'amru, ze'elianu ve'amru, Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh.
Page 161. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, va'al Yerushalayim.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Haskivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom. V'hamidenu shomreinu l'chayim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom. V'hamidenu shomreinu l'chayim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen. Shelter us beneath your wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. 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 Amen.
Amidah is on page 164. If you are able, please rise.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Velohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor V'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot V'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, L'man Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham V'Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor La'olam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol Atah Rab L'Hoshia, Mechalkel Chaim B'Chesed, Mechaye HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Baguvurot, Umidom Melach, Melech Memit, Umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman Atala HaChayot HaKol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye HaKol. Atah Kadosh v'Shimcha Kadosh, U'Kdoshim b'chol yom yahalalu chasela. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Tell you why the winters go. I can tell you what becomes of snow. But there are things I'll never know, and along with you, I wonder. I can tell you how you came to be. I can tell you why you look like me. So So much of life remains a mystery, and along with you I wonder, I wonder. Along with you I wonder, how could God stop the singing of a young girl's heart? Along with you I wonder where she's gone and why we had to part. I can promise you your wounds will mend. I can promise you you'll laugh again. But why you lost your dearest friend, along with you I wonder, I wonder. Along with you I'll hurt and cry, kick the ground and curse the sky. I'll never understand why all things die and why we have to wonder. I can tell you why the love you've known has turned your fragile heart to stone. Take my hand and you won't be alone. We'll make music of the thunder, and along with you I'll wonder, I'll wonder.
You wrote that song, didn't you?
Yeah.
Beautiful song. At this point in our service, our thoughts turn to those in need of healing on this Shabbat, healing of body, healing of spirit, and healing of heart. And we ask God to bestow the bracha, the blessing of refuah shlema, full and complete healing on the following men and women from our community or those known and loved by our congregation: Lynn Feingold, Ilana Massey, Kevin Brackett, Michelle Camisia, Joshua Hyman, Dylan Bonnick, Diane Butler, Elsa Loach, Jesse Friedman, Tom Sabo, Yolanda Galaz, Beverly Eigner, Carl Rice, Michael Cossin, Ed Eston, Roger Widman, and Marjorie Gilberg. And if anyone has a name they wish to add, please do so. The Misha Baruch is on page 511.
Misha Baruch Avotenu, Nekor HaBracha L'imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishe Berach Imotenu, Nekor HaBracha Lavotenu. Shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. Good Shabbos again. It's so nice to see you at the start of this holiday weekend with Bottle Rock and Memorial Day, and there's a lot going on, but I'm really happy that you took time out to be here with our community on this Shabbat. Now, I had prepared a Devar Torah, a little teaching about the Torah portion, about the holiday coming up, Shavuot, about the book of Ruth, which we read during the holiday of Shavuot. And it was very, if I must say so, it was erudite, it was thoughtful, it was engaging. But in all seriousness, after what happened this week in Texas and the week before in Buffalo, this is not the time for me to teach Torah in that way. So I will teach it, but I think in another week or two. What I wanted to talk about tonight, and to give you a forum to express how you're feeling and how you're thinking tonight, is about what happened, especially in Texas. I don't even know what the death count is now. 19 children, 20 children who were slaughtered, and 2 teachers. I don't know if anything's changed in this country based on what I'm reading and what I'm seeing. It seems like maybe, just maybe, people are reaching a point that there might be change. But whenever we see one of these mass shootings happen, nothing does seem to change. And I know, and we did this once before when 11 Jewish brothers and sisters were killed while praying at their synagogue in Pittsburgh. We had an open forum and people just talked about how they were feeling. I want to just take a few minutes and do that tonight, and I'll start. I'm angry. I'm frustrated. I don't know why this happens over and over and over and over again in our country, whereas it doesn't happen in other countries. Every country has people who are mentally ill. Every country has people who are wicked. But I think one of the big differences here is how easily accessible these WMD are, these weapons of mass destruction. And I don't know what else to call AR-15s, these long rifles with automatic or semi-automatic capabilities. I don't know how you call them anything other than weapons of mass destruction. I mean, look at the death toll that this 18-year-old, possibly without even any training, was able to do. Some of you know my views on this subject. I have been around guns for a long time in my work as a chaplain, law enforcement chaplain. I personally don't have a problem with civilians having weapons for self-defense, as long as they're trained properly and they go through a solid background check and all of that. But the weapons that are available today, these semi-automatic AR-15s that can discharge literally scores and hundreds of bullets in such a short period of time, and that were designed to kill people, not to hunt, it's just mind-boggling to me. So again, this is not about politics for me. This is about just being a human being and trying to construct a society, as I said earlier, that our forebears urged us to construct, one that is just, one that is kind, and one that is peaceful. And I think that's what the founders of this country hopefully wanted as well. But that's not the country that we live in right now. And I honestly don't know what needs to happen for that to change. As I said in the beginning, my prayer on this Shabbat is that our political leaders of all stripes can somehow get together, come up with a compromise, figure out how to pass legislation that will prevent things like this from happening in the future. We're not going to prevent evil. We're not going to prevent mental illness. That has always been with us and will always be with us. But somehow we have to prevent these weapons of mass destruction from getting in the hands of people who can wreak so much damage with them, no matter how good our police departments are and our law enforcement agencies are. So I'm going to grab the mic.
I got it.
Oh, you got the mic. Do you want to go out there? So I welcome any thoughts you might have, any feelings you might have because I think there's a lot on people's minds right now, and I just wanted to give you a forum to express them. Charles?
I was going to go to Charles before you had your hand up. I knew you.
Well, I think that the tragedies are so rampant. I mean, we've got tragedies in Ukraine. We've got tragedies south of the border. We've got tragedies here in our own country. There's no shortage of death and destruction. As you say, the evil folks, it's hard to get rid of them, folks with mental illness, etc. But I believe an armed society is a polite society, and when we have gun-free zones, it just invites disaster. That's my personal opinion. I, too, have grown up with guns, and long guns have been in my household, short guns, etc., since I was from grandparents coming up to the modern times. And so I don't think it's correct to focus on the weapons. Myself, to me, they're just tools. In the wrong hands, they do wickedness. So, but certainly the wicked need to be restrained. And we've got people that are unbalanced running, or I should say, without help, without assistance, and without people that care. When we become an uncaring society, this is the kind of thing that happens. When people who are close to the ones who commit the evil and don't even see it, that's wrong. And so we need to support the families. We need to support the neighbors. We need to support the people whose children and whose friends are committing these atrocities. That's where the focus should be, in my estimation. So just giving you my thought.
Thank you, Charles. And I would just say, in terms of gun-free zones, and I know it's probably different in California than it was in New York or when I was in Chicago, but I think we all know, I mean, our armed guard, Mark is a case in point, Jewish congregations, synagogues have, through great violence and bloodshed, mostly have come to the realization that we have to have some way of defending ourselves against these sort of attacks. In all fairness and with all due respect to Mark, I don't know that his pistol will do much against an 18-year-old with an AR-15. So I would respectfully disagree a little bit. I'm sorry?
And armor.
And body armor. So, look, I appreciate your comments, but I do agree. I think synagogues realize now, synagogue leadership, that we need to be able to protect ourselves. But I just think with the weaponry that's out there and that is so accessible, even with handguns and armed guards, it's really hard to stop things like what we just saw a couple days ago. Other thoughts, comments? We're staying with the same family?
Yes, but
Okay.
my approach is different. I remember years ago when I first came to this country, I was shocked as a school teacher that your school system did not have moral education, because in the British system, all public schools have moral education as part of the curriculum, where students are learning how to treat each other, how to have manners. Yes, sir, no, sir. There's nothing like that in the public schools here. And I remember not long after, Columbine happened in Colorado, where there was a mass shooting at the high school, and I thought, and everybody was so shocked, and I'm like, I'm not shocked at all. If you're not teaching the young people how to behave and how to treat guns and how to actually treat each other, it's only going to get worse. And so it has happened. Every year we've had major killings, every year. And it's not going to get better. And we keep talking about it, and we know what to do, and we just refuse to do it. The moral education has to come back to the public schools so children can grow up, because you don't know if they're getting it from home. So the schools need to take that on. It's not just reading and writing. We have to teach ethics.
Thank you. You know who talks a lot about moral education is David Brooks, who I don't agree with all of his stuff, but he's written some pretty interesting things about civics and moral education, and I think that's probably not a bad idea. I'm a product of the public school system. I think that we had something sort of like that when I was a kid, but I don't know that it's really happening too much these days. Judy.
I very much appreciate this opportunity to express ourselves in the various factors of this current problem. How how do we stay out of despair after years and years and years of man-caused problems, nationally, internationally? It's an enormous challenge. I so appreciate being able to be here at synagogue tonight. My greatest challenge this last week has been just staying at a distance from personal despair on these issues and these events.
Thank you. I think you speak for a lot of us. It reminds me, I went to the University of Pennsylvania as an undergrad, and a very prominent professor, psychology professor there, developed a theory known as learned helplessness. He wrote a book, I think, called Learned Helplessness. And in the experiment with animals, I think it was dogs, they were trained that no matter whatever they did, they received an electric shock. No matter whether they moved to one part of the cage or pushed a button, whatever behavior they did, they were met with this negative reinforcement. And they ultimately just cowered in a corner, and he called it learned helplessness. You know, they just felt that no matter what they could do, nothing good was going to happen. And I think a lot of people today are feeling that with regard to this issue. No matter what we do, no matter what we say, the same mass shootings happen over and over and over again. And I think what you point out is one of the great risks, the great dangers now, which is all of us feeling so despondent, in such despair, and so numb to this that things don't change. And I think things are going to have to change. I don't know when or how, but I think despondency, despair, and numbness, and a sense that we are absolutely helpless is normal in light of the external the negative reinforcement we get. But I don't think that's the answer. Rivka?
I found that dealing with all of this makes me very angry. And I think that as long as we individuals stay silent and just get angry at ourselves, at our friends, and talk about all this, nothing's going to change. And I think we have to turn that anger into some kind of action. And that action, besides supporting the organizations that are against gun violence, for getting rid of the AR-15s, as Australia did, and it may be writing letters to every single legislator that you can think of to let them know that this is not acceptable, that something has to be done, to go out and protest. We have to do more than just talk about it. And figuring out what that is may not be easy. I haven't figured it out for myself, but I think that's the direction I'm leaning in.
Thank you.
I was looking for
go ahead.
I was looking for words, and I come from a country where you graduate high school, you go to the military, you get as a man in the military, you get an M16, you learn how to deal with it, how to take care of it. You do not learn morality in school, you learn morality at home. And people do not go and enter high schools or schools, and innocent people who, I mean, if they went into a police station, yes, I can understand that they're angry at the police, but if you go to a school to the innocent, something is very, 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 very wrong. Personally, when I look around the world, when we look around the world, we should see where, in what countries do they have mass killings like this? No other country, nowhere. Afghanistan, Pakistan, Arab countries. where the enemy, everybody knows who their enemy is, but here it's not an enemy that they're shooting. They're shooting at their own friends. So I don't understand it. I don't think it's mental illness has always have been there, but to be able to, I can walk into Walmart and buy a weapon that can, I just don't understand it. I really do not understand it. And the other thing that I wanted to say is, excuse me and forgive me for being so harsh, but I think in America, men have had power long enough, and it's time to vote women, and women who care, and to show it at the ballot box. And everybody should go to the ballot box, everybody should vote.
Thank you.
That's the only way.
Why don't we end with that? This is a representative democracy, and some people talked about action and about voting, and in the end, when push comes to shove, our elected officials are supposed to represent us and our wishes, and if they're not doing it, the most patriotic thing you can do is vote them out of office. So in some ways, we've gotten the country that we've wanted, at least based on our political system. And I was watching someone on the news yesterday talking about American exceptionalism. Whether that's true or not, that we are exceptional, I certainly seem to think that we are exceptional in terms of this carnage. And that's something that I don't want us to be known for anymore. So I hope and pray that we can figure out how to get beyond this and get to a more, as I said earlier, just, kind, and peaceful place, the place that the rabbis urged us to create. Thank you all. We're going to continue with our service on page 586 with the Aleinu. Please rise if you're able.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכול, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורל עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמר היה אדוני מלך כל הארץ ויאמר יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו Please be seated. I have the honor of being able to invite board member Judy Nystrom up to the bima, who is going to read our announcements tonight. And Judy is pinch hitting for the board member who was originally going to be here tonight. 3 weeks in a row. But you're so good at it.
Oh, yeah, I'm so good. I can smile a lot. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
And I wanted to say, when everyone was reaching for the microphone, I pray that God is holding those children and those teachers and their families and loved ones close. It's the only thing that can let me close my eyes at night. It's so painful to think of what they must have gone through. Okay. Tomorrow Sunday there is no religious school, and the synagogue office is closed on Monday in observance of Memorial Day. Most excitingly, we have 2 Shavuot events. The first will be an adult program as a Tish at 9 p.m., June 4th here at CBS. And the second is a community Shavuot. It's a picnic at Kennedy Park, June 5th at 10:30 a.m. Don't forget that the John Denver concert will be on June 5th at 1 p.m. Make sure to get your tickets if you haven't purchased them yet. We are thrilled to have Ari Massey's bar mitzvah service on June 11th at 10:30 a.m. Their service will be in person as well as streamed on the CBS YouTube channel. Don't forget to register for the CBS 9-hole golf tournament at Vintner's Golf Course and join in lunch after at the Yountville Veteran Memorial Park. Even if you are not playing golf, you're welcome to join everyone for lunch catered by world-famous Burger Dog, people from Silverado Country Club, for a full lunch for a $20 registration fee. We'd like to give warm wishes to this week's birthdays and anniversaries: Suzanne Myers, Pac Warfield, Lauren Lombardi, Ashley Lombardi, Martin Spitz, Debbie Purcellet, Sophia Honig, Joshua Bronk, and Terry Charney. Happy anniversary to Sabina Stoltz and Aaron Thornton, Erica Aronson and James Lopez, David and Jody Dell, Marlo Cohn and Peter Wilmert, Devereaux Smith and Larry Kamer, Anina Schwartz and James Woolery, and Fred and Catherine Goldman.
Our thoughts now turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. We remember those who have died during the past 12 months. Sandra Somick, Michael Gordon, Larry Elson, Arnold Trombler, Erica Cornelison, Gladys Shubin, Richard Magano, Clark Smith, Stephanie Rab Axner, David Ernesto Kaplan, Pat Pate, Annette Goldberg, Maggie Sherman, Sandra Banco-Fichtenberg, Nicholas Huff, George Montano, Dean Wilson, Norman Charney, and David Alpert. We also remember and honor the yahrzeits, the anniversaries of the deaths of Theodore Tobias Bronk, Aharon Ben David, Irvin Hansher, Bertha Rakita, and Art Finkelstein. And if anyone has a name they wish to add, please do so. I'd also like to add the names of all the lives of all the victims who have died recently in these horrific massacres. The Mourner's Kaddish is on page 598. Please rise. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei rabbah be'almad divrah chirtei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael b'agala u'v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehe shmei rabbah mevarach le'alam u'almei amaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei dekudsha b'richu Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shmaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace grant peace to all those in mourning and comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us all say amen. Please be seated. Before our Kiddush and Motzi, we have a final song. And what are you going to play for us tonight?
652. אני ואתה אז יבואו כבר כולם אמרו את זה קודם לפניי לא משנה אני ואתה נשנה את העולם אני ואתה ננסה מההתחלה יהיה לנו רע, אין דבר זה לא נורא. אמרו את זה קודם, לפניי זה לא משנה. אני ואתה נשנה את העולם. אני ואתה נשנה את העולם. אני ואתה אז יבואו כבר כולם אמרו את זה קודם לפניי זה לא משנה אני ואתה נשנה את העולם אני ואתה נשנה את העולם את העולם, את העולם.
Please rise. If you want to follow along, we're going to do the longer version of the Kiddush on page 123. Not the full long one, the semi-long one. Trying to find a compromise always.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Borei Peri Hagafen Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher kitshana b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu B'Shabbat kodsho b'yahava u'ratzon hinchilanu Zicharon lema'aseh Bereshit Ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh Zecher letziat Mitzrayim Ki vanu v'charta ve'otanu kidashta Mikol ha'amim V'shabbat kadshecha V'yahava u'ratzon Hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat Amen L'chaim
L'chaim. We have a wonderful oneg waiting for us, so in the back. So in anticipation of the oneg, let's say the motzi together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
B'tei avon, Shabbat
B'tei
shalom.
avon, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom.